When we begin to establish a practice routine, there are various factors that will come into play. And in this segment, I'm going to share why it is that the morning can be a helpful time and a useful and a productive time to establish that practice. That being said, know that there's no one time and there's no best time for everybody. Everyone's a little different, and you'll ultimately find for yourself the time of day and the length of time that works best for you. Afternoon can certainly work, evening can certainly work. There are some challenges that the afternoon poses. The day gets busy, and before you know it, we don't think we have time or we forget about it, and afternoon sometimes doesn't work so well in terms of a regular ongoing practice. Evening, it lends itself up for being like, day is done, good time to do it, but sometimes we can be very tired, and if we're tired, it's going to be more challenging to practice, as well as other things that can come up, like there's some studying to do or an assignment that you didn't realize you would do, and then you begin to have it where the practice is butting up against getting work done as you're getting ready for bed. But putting those aside, why is it that morning can be a good time to practice? A couple reasons. One, and I think many people, probably the majority of people, practice in the morning. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right time for you. One is you get to see how the practice affects you in the rest of the day. How might you be a little bit less reactive, a little bit more observing of what's taking place, a little bit, less stressed when certain things happen. You can begin to notice that because you have the whole day ahead of you to notice it. Also in time, as you begin to relate differently to your experience because of practice, you'll begin to see how you're relating differently with some degree of intentionality as the day progresses. Another reason is because you're able to carve it out with some degree of knowing you can do it. There's less that will have gotten in the way. Now, for some, it means getting up earlier. So you get up 12 to 18 minutes earlier to practice for 12 to 18 minutes, or however long your practice is. That might mean going to sleep 12 to 18 minutes earlier, because we don't want to compromise sleep. To the contrary, hopefully we'll be getting more sleep. So one of the benefits of getting up earlier is that you're not really having it to affect the day that you're used to having. So we get up and we have this routine before we get out the door. And even though some of it appears to be doing something like eating, and some of it appears to be not doing anything in particular because we're just sort of not doing anything in particular, it's all really one chunk of conditioned morning time. And to take 12 minutes out of it is to remove 12 minutes, even if it wasn't 12 minutes that we were really aware of what we were doing. Might have just been part of our daydreaming as we go through the day. That's still something. And so we're having to sort of carve that out. So in some ways you might find it easy to say, I wake up and I just do this 12-minute practice and it works nicely. But it might be that you wake up when you normally wake up and you've got somebody who you normally have been having coffee with or tea with, or you've got the dog to walk, or you've got a child who wants you to take care of them in some way. And it might be that you then begin to feel like almost this tug of war between these competing good things to do. And so getting up earlier can be a way to minimize those challenges. Another reason why it's nice to do in the morning is it really becomes this morning ritual. And many people will say who've been practicing for a period of time, I really look forward to that time in the morning. It's like time for myself. The sun is, dawn is breaking. It's like the day is getting going, and it's a nice ritual way to begin the day. Importantly, if you do, begin to explore practicing in the morning with the intention of it becoming your regular practice time, know that if you should miss a day because you forget, especially early on, or because you sleep later, especially early on, that's okay. This is part of the process. I've never really met anybody who said, I'm going to start doing it tomorrow, and then that's it. It's perfect, so to speak. Part of the process is working it into your routine. getting up earlier, not getting up earlier, letting people know this is what you'll be doing. They're being okay with that versus not so okay with that. Taking something that you've been doing in the morning and saying, you know what, I don't really need to do that. And there's the time I'm going to have to allocate to this. Importantly, it is not meant to be stressful. It is not meant to have you, butting up against some other priority. And it certainly isn't intended to create interpersonal challenges. So if you're able to find a time in the morning to practice for 6, 12, 18 minutes, whatever it is that you find to be, a good period of practice for you, hopefully those tips will be helpful as you set in motion that routine and give yourself 3 weeks or a month or so to really see it play out, open to making tweaks along the way, not too quickly. Let some days go by where you begin to go, I wonder. But then if, 4 or 5 days go by and something seems not to be quite right, to make a tweak would certainly be a useful and responsive thing to do. I hope this is helpful. Be well.